It was the kind of Saturday morning that made you forget the world could be ugly. Sunlight filtered through the big oaks lining the quiet cul-de-sac in Oak Ridge, Texas. Sprinklers ticked rhythmically down the street. Somewhere, a lawnmower hummed. On the porch of 312 Sparrow Lane, Melanie Carter sat with a glass of sweet tea resting on her knee, watching her 9-year-old son, Liam, draw his sidewalk masterpiece. Liam was all scraped knees, golden hair, and imagination. He sat barefoot on the driveway, chalk dust covering his fingers and shorts, his tongue poking out in concentration. A massive blue and red T-Rex was forming under his hands, lightning bolts shooting from its eyes as it fought off a swarm of green aliens. "Look, Mom," Liam called without turning around. "He's winning." Melanie smiled. "He sure is, baby." It was one of those rare, peaceful moments where the world feels okay. And then it wasn't. A low engine rumble rolled up the street, slow, deliberate. Melanie looked up. A matte black SUV crept to a halt right in front of their house. No front plate. Tinted windows. Too quiet. Too still. The doors opened at the same time. 2 men stepped out wearing navy blue uniforms stenciled with HOA enforcement in bold letters. No badges. No name tags. One had a clipboard. The other wore black tactical gloves on a 90-degree day. Melanie stood slowly. "Can I help you?" The tall one, pale with a sharp jaw and mirrored sunglasses, didn't answer. He pointed at Liam. "That's defacement," he said flatly. Melanie blinked. "Excuse me." The second man, stockier and older with a darker complexion, stepped forward. "Sidewalk markings violate HOA Code 7A14. Graffiti. Vandalism. Grounds for immediate citation." Liam froze mid-doodle. "Mom," he whispered. Melanie's instincts ignited like fire. She stepped off the porch and positioned herself between her son and the strangers. "That's Chalk. He's 9. The tall man pulled out a phone and began filming. "You're interfering with an enforcement action, ma'am." "What enforcement? You're not police?" Her eyes darted to their SUV, still no plates, no lights, no markings. Nothing real. The stocky man reached into his back pocket and pulled out zip ties. "This is HOA business. You escalate to bring in county enforcement." Melanie's stomach dropped. They weren't legit. This wasn't about an HOA. It was something else. She reached for her phone, hands shaking. Before she could hit record, the stocky one lunged and snatched it away. "Tampering with evidence," he sneered. "That's obstruction." Liam started to cry. "Give it back," Melanie shouted. "You're not real officers." The tall man stepped closer. "You really want to do this the hard way?" Then he grabbed Liam by the arm. That's when Melanie screamed, a deep, primal scream that cut through the neighborhood. A few curtains shifted. One neighbor stepped onto his porch but just watched. And then the screen door behind Melanie creaked open. A silver-haired man stepped out onto the porch, slow and deliberate. He wore an old Marine Corps t-shirt tucked into jeans. His face was lined, his eyes sharp. Melanie's voice cracked. "Dad." Ben Carter didn't speak. He scanned the SUV, the zip ties, the way Liam was crying, and his daughter stood frozen with fury. "Stay back, old man." "HOA matter," the tall man snapped. Ben just looked at him, quiet, cold. Then he said 6 words. "The last man you'll ever intimidate." The words hit the air like a warning shot. Ben didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The silence in his tone said everything. Melanie had only seen that version of her father once before, when a mugger tried to rob them at a gas station 15 years ago. The guy had a knife. Ben hadn't shouted then either. He just moved. 1 second he was standing there. The next, the guy was unconscious on the curb. Now that same quiet calm had returned. "You want to join her on obstruction charges?" the tall man threatened. Ben took 1 step forward. That was all it took. The shorter man holding Liam flinched. "Look, sir," he said. "We're just enforcing community codes." "No," Ben said. "You're scaring a woman and a child. And you're 10 seconds from a mistake you won't walk away from." The tall one squared up. "Are you threatening us?" Ben didn't blink. "I'm warning you. That's more than you gave them." And then the tall one lunged. Ben stepped inside his reach, grabbed his wrist, and drove the heel of his palm into the man's elbow. A loud crack echoed. The man screamed. Ben twisted his arm backward, slammed his knee into his gut, and the thug dropped like dead weight. The second man charged. Ben pivoted low. A palm strike to the throat stopped the man cold. He stumbled, gasping. Ben swept his legs. The thug hit the pavement with a dull thud. It was over in under 10 seconds. 2 men, out cold, on the driveway of a modest suburban home. Melanie grabbed Liam, sobbing. "Are you okay, baby?" Liam nodded, eyes wide. Grandpa moved like a ninja. Ben crouched beside the second thug. He yanked the zip ties off the man's belt and bound his wrists with them. Then he did the same to the first one, now moaning in agony. "Like using these on kids?" he muttered. "Dad," Melanie said. "What now?" Ben didn't look up. "Call the police. Tell them everything. Turn on the porch camera feed." Melanie didn't argue. For the first time in minutes, she felt like she could breathe. Ben stood. Neighbors were out now. Phones were recording. One whispered he dropped them like nothing. Ben said nothing. He circled the SUV. No plates. No documents. Just fake forms, zip ties, and a lockbox of small bills. Inside, Melanie was on the phone. "Yes. 2 men impersonating law enforcement tried to take my son. My father stopped them. They're restrained. No injuries on our side." Ben returned to the porch. Liam peeked from behind Melanie's legs. "Grandpa, how'd you do that?" Ben smiled faintly. "Been a while. But I don't forget. A neighbor crossed the street. I saw the whole thing. He didn't even flinch. Frank Carter didn't move. He stood over the 2 fake officers, arms crossed. "You okay?" one officer asked as squad cars arrived. "I'm fine," Ben said. "But someone better call every HOA in the county." These 2 weren't playing around. By the time the dust settled, the video had gone viral. 12 minutes of footage from a neighbor's phone, starting with a mother's scream and ending with 2 grown men zip-tied on the pavement. Within hours, it was everywhere. Military forums, neighborhood watch groups, even a segment on local news titled, "Veteran Takes Down Fake HOA Kidnappers." But Ben Carter didn't care about that. He cared about one thing: keeping his family safe. The local police booked the men for impersonating law enforcement and attempted abduction. But Ben wasn't convinced it was over. They were too confident, too coordinated. He'd seen that kind of sink before in soldiers. He checked every detail, their tactics, their movements, their gear. They weren't amateurs. 2 nights later, someone left a note taped to the mailbox. Violation 2B. Unauthorized surveillance devices. Remove or face enforcement. No signature. No return address. No real HOA had issued it. Ben tore it off and held it up in front of a passing car. The driver sped away. Later that week, a brick crashed through the back fence wrapped in a note that read, "You want a war, you got one." Ben called Agent Ramirez at the FBI. They'd been tracking the impersonators. His case had triggered a wider investigation. Ben told her everything. Then he did more than talk. He set a trap. A dummy silhouette behind the window. A fake power outage. Cameras set to infrared. And Ben hid under the porch, waiting. At 2:14 a.m., a figure crept over the fence, low, silent, trained. Ben moved. No words. Just motion. He took the man down in under 10 seconds. The guy wasn't ready for it. But Ben was. Ramirez arrived 17 minutes later. "You just caught our first one," she said. 2 days later, coordinated raids hit 5 counties. Dozens arrested. A fake HOA crime ring shut down. Ben sat on the porch, watching the street. Quiet again. Earned. Inside, Liam sat on the floor drawing. This time, not dinosaurs. He was sketching a man on the porch, standing guard. His shadow stretched 10 feet tall. "I'm calling him the Protector," he told Ben. Ben nodded. "He looks strong." "He is," Liam said. "But he's tired." Ben's throat tightened. Because that was the moment he knew. The fight had changed all of them. But for no, at least for now, the enemy was scared. And that changed everything.